Taliban sieges a third of Afghanistan in blitz offensive after US wastes nearly 1 trillion in pointless 20-year war. The Taliban have seized control of a third of Afghanistan as they continue to accelerate their blitz offensive while the US continues to withdraw their forces. The US has wasted nearly 1 trillion on the pointless 20-year battle trying to starve off the terror group who are fighting to gain ultimate control over the war-torn country. The Taliban have been on tenterhooks to forge ahead with their scheme since President Joe Biden announced the withdrawal of troops back in April and have since continued at lightning speed. Jihadist forces have now advanced across rural areas, putting them in reaching distance of major cities such as Herat and Kabul. A recent US intelligence report warned they could take the capital, Kabul, within 6 months. They have now seized hold in almost twice as much as Afghanistan as they had 2 months ago, sparking concerns they are planning an explosive offensive this summer. It would seem mark the greatest jihadist victory since the Soviets quit in 1989, one observer told the Daily Mail. It would exceed even the worst-case scenario US intelligence warned of months ago, prompting President Biden to hold crisis talks with Afghan President Ashraf Ghani to determine the country's future. The US President's plans to withdraw all forces by September 11 have been called into question as the Taliban continue to taunt the Western power with significant pressures. Since May, the Taliban have captured 69 of 407 Afghan districts, including some that were considered government strongholds. Missions were expected to focus on territory in the south and east, traditional Taliban strongholds, but they have alarmingly focused their offensives in the north. With 142 districts under the control, the terror group has their sights firmly set on the 170 they don't yet have. But amid their mounting success, they have changed tactics. A Taliban commander in Ghazni province told NBC News that they were surprised at the speed of their operation and had been avoided capturing some areas as to not anger US forces by abiding the commitments of the 2020 agreement signed in Doha last year. Their victorious streak threatens to reverse the efforts of the US and NATO's 2 decades of service and waste the colossal cost of fighting the long war. The Defense Department's latest report from 2020 revealed they had spent around $815.7 billion, nearly $1 trillion, on war fighting. US Congress found that around $19 billion had been lost to waste, fraud and abuse between May 2019 and December 31, 2019. Not to mention the human cost, as it estimates 66,000 to 69,000 Afghan troops have perished, while UN watchdogs said 72 journalists and 444 aid workers have lost their lives. The UN estimate nearly 11,000 civilians have been killed or injured since they began recording casualties in 2009. Almost 2.7 million Afghans have been forced to flee the conflict, while another 4 million are now displaced within their home country. It has exhausted Afghan forces, seeing troops complain they are outnumbered, outgunned, underpaid, and weary for 20 years of fighting. The jihadists have taken advantage of their fatigued opponents, seeing some government units surrender and reportedly negotiate agreements with them instead of risking further bloodshed. Bill Roggio, editor and founder of Defense of Democrats' Long War Journal, said the Taliban has nearly doubled the number of districts it controls, has captured key areas and military bases, and demoralized segments of the Afghan security forces and the government. A well-known and respected government fighter, Sohrab Ajmani, was killed with 22 others during a recent battle in the Dawat Abad district after the team were reported sent in without sufficient backup. Another fighter, Mohammad Nasim, 33, explained how he was trapped for a month and forced to eat berries and grass after Taliban surrounded his post. He soldiered on, even digging shrapnel out of his side with a knife until he was rescued. For 30 days I had thought I would die. When the commandos came for us, we stacked the the dead and wounded on the fuselage floor of a helicopter, then ran over them to fit inside. I had lost so many of my friends, I felt like screaming. The Afghan government this week launched national mobilization equipping local volunteers to join the fight. But Real Rogio said the fact that the government has put out the call for the militia is a clear admission of the failure of the security forces, most certainly an act of desperation. Thank you.